Everybody, good morning. It is time for another collab video. This collab is favorite vegetarian meal, and it is hosted by the lovely Kim at Prepwhisperer. There's about 14 of us participating. We're all down in the description bar. Please check everybody out and just like and subscribe to everybody. This network is really amazing. I love being part of it because it's really uplifting, supportive, and very positive. I want to say most of the time, but really all of the time, because even when we're going through ups and downs, it's still there's a positive attitude, and we all come, to help each other up and keep going on this plan, whatever one we're on. So I really love it. But anyway, so as far as the collab, the recipe, I had a little bit of a hesitation because I was thinking, it's been a while since I've made a vegetarian dish, and I used to be very heavily plant-based. So I really looked forward to going through my books and finding something that I really loved. I wanted to try something new, but then I said, well, wait a minute now. It has to be my favorite vegetarian meal. And if I try something new, how could it be my favorite? So I thought, what do you really like? And I thought, what I really like that's a vegetarian dish? It's something that we came upon when we were stationed overseas. Husband and I were first married. They sent us to Spain for 3 years, which was magical and wonderful. So one of the things that we found when we were out there was what's called a Spanish tortilla, which is basically a Spanish potato omelet. And it's very, very simple, although I think you have to use a little skill when you're flipping it, which I have at this point in time. I've pretty much mastered because that was like 33 years ago, so I've been making it ever since. But I found an easier way to make it. I usually make it with a lot of olive oil, and so I really had to back off on that in order to make it point friendly, right? Because I think this journey is about taking what you love and then changing it to fit your lifestyle and where you're headed and what your goals are now. And that's what I did with this recipe. It does have potatoes. If you can't have potatoes, then I'm not quite sure what you can use. I'm thinking maybe you might be able to make something very similar with using rice, or maybe even spaghetti squash or noodles. But for this recipe to be as authentic as possible, I'm going to be using white potatoes. Okay, guys. So I am going to see in a little bit. Remember that potatoes are resistant starch, and so they don't get completely absorbed. So there is a place for them in a healthy diet. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Let's get started on this very simple recipe. This is a book that I got when we were in Spain, and I used to work at the library out on the base there. And when I left, they gave me this wonderful book here, and everybody signed it. And it actually has about 4 or 5 different Spanish tortillas. They look like this. So if you ever are interested in any of these books, Penelope Casas makes a whole line of tapas books, and they're really just top notch. So what are we using in here? You can use 4 or 5. There's 5 of us, so I'm going to be using 5 pretty good sized potatoes. It's very important to have either a cast iron pan or a pan that can go from stovetop to inside of the oven. Okay, I've got 6 eggs here. You can use 4 to 6, however many you decide. But I go with 6 because there's 5 of us. I want to make sure there's more protein in it. I'm going to use a whole onion, and I'm going to slice this up in rings. Usually when you make this, you would use a whole cup of olive oil, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm only using 2 tablespoons. I'm trying to bring down the points. I'm going to use some fresh cracked pepper. You can use regular pepper, some sort of coarse salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt. Okay, so let's get started. Now I quartered my potatoes because I'm going to put them in my little salad shooter. And so what we want to do is we want them sliced fairly thin. And so you can use a grater, you can use a salad shooter, you can use, a mandolin. Just be real careful. Those are so sharp. and just slice them, I want to say maybe 1/4 of an inch. You want to rinse these and get as much starch off of these as possible. So in this little stock pot here, I am going to set that over medium-high heat, and I'm going to set a colander in here because what I'm going to do is I'm going to steam the potatoes before I add them to the omelet. Cover them up here while they steam, and I just want to steam them until they're al dente. I don't really want them mushy, and so I'm avoiding frying them in just gobs of olive oil. I'm in the cast iron pan. I'm going to put my olive oil over medium-high heat, and then I'm going to add my onions. You're going to cook these in the oil until they're translucent and tender. Potatoes are coming along nicely, and these are almost done, so I'm going to preheat the oven to about 375. I think that's probably going to be good. Turn it light on. All right, very carefully I'm transferring the onions to another plate, leaving some of the oil in the pan. And I'm just going to shut the pan off for a few minutes so it won't overheat. Meanwhile, I am going to break the eggs in a large bowl and just whisk them up. And then on top of this, after I get them all nicely blended, I'm going to add in my pepper, 1/4 teaspoon or so, few shakes, and then some salt to taste. And then little by little, I'm going to add some of the hot potatoes in so I can temper the eggs. I don't want to cook the eggs. I just want to mix them in. All right, the eggs have been sitting with the potatoes for just a few minutes. I'm going to turn the pan back on medium-high heat. All right, in go my potato mixture, only half of it into the hot pan. I'm going to spread it out nice. And then the onion mixture. And if you want, you can add in some other type of a filling inside. You could put spinach, cooked spinach. You can put cheese, whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to put the rest of this on, spread it out nicely. And this is going to cook for about 3 minutes. It's going to bubble nicely on the side, as you can see here. And then after about 3 minutes, I'm actually going to take that and use a oven mitt here and put it into my nice hot 375 oven, and that's going to cook for about 30 minutes. Okay, magically it is 30 minutes. Let's take it out. I'm just going to let it sit up here for a little bit, and as it cools, it's actually going to become a lot easier to slice. Okay, now when you want to loosen it up, I would use a little rubber spatula, and then, also a spatula, a flat spatula down on the bottom as you're trying to loosen it up a little bit. Since we're using less oil, you have to really pry it away to be a little careful. You don't want it to stick. And then as you see here, it's just going to look really gorgeous, I hope, when I lift this up. Turn it over, and there it is. Voila. Very, very gorgeous. Typically, I'd want to rest this on a bed of arugula, but I'm using romaine tonight, some tomatoes and some olives, and maybe a Frigo cheese stick. All right, so I am going to ask my hubby how he liked the one that I made tonight versus the one that we used to eat overseas that was made with a lot of heavy olive oil. Yeah. Did you notice a big difference?
Mm-hmm, I did. Yeah, okay. Before one piece, was enough. It was like dragging down a little bit. It was very good, very tasty, but it was heavy, Right. Now, it's lighter. It's fluffier.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot lighter. And I think what's neat is that you can have it for breakfast, you can have it for lunch or dinner, and it also makes a good snack, right? Mm-hmm. And it's portable because as it gets cooler, you can, it cuts up a little, easier. You can take. It
stays together.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. So that's neat. And I think that now if you're doing Smartpoints, for me, I have to count the eggs. If you're doing freestyle, I believe eggs are free. But if you wanted to go lower in points and you're doing Smartpoints, you know, just use some egg beaters and use the egg white and, you know, bring it down a couple more points, you know. But honestly, 6 points for a 1/8 of that huge pan is not bad at all. So anyway, all right, I'm going to let you guys go for now. I hope you try the recipe, and I hope that you like it. You know what? It's also good with hot sauce and salsa.
And salsa.
Yeah, and avocado. You could really dress it up however you want. You could put some cheese on top of it. Just whatever.
The
Just be
sliced
real
tomato
creative.
and olive went real good with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it has a real Mediterranean feel about it. So, so anyway, okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. Love you guys a lot. See you next time.